Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm Kathy Colaiacovo, and I am so glad you're listening in today because I want to share something that I like to refer to as the secret sauce to marketing. But unfortunately, most people like to skip over this, even though it is the one thing that helps make all of your marketing work. We're diving into something I know a lot of you love to have on the podcast, real world examples of marketing messaging makeovers. That is kind of a tongue twister to say. The examples that I want to share with you today will show you how a blah intro can transform into one that hits home with your dream clients. Because here's the thing, if people aren't getting what you do, whether it's from your website content, your social media content, or what you say to people face to face, or even on virtual networking events and groups, if that message isn't hitting home, they're never going to see that you could be the person to help them, or that you're somebody they could refer, somebody they know could use your help. As a quick reminder, when it comes to your marketing message, there are 4 core marketing messages you want to have at the ready to do this kind of change with your own marketing. We talked about these in episode 151, and you can go back and listen into it to get more details on what each one is. And as a quick reminder, those 4 core marketing messages are your crystal clear intro, your one-line offer statement, your elevator pitch, and then, of course, your CTA specific statements. So these are the messages that will show up and should show up everywhere. Your website, your bios, your intro when you're talking to people on Zoom calls or networking calls, words that you will say to people face to face, social media posts, anytime, anywhere you're talking or writing about your practice or your business. And when they're unclear, we've talked about this. You'll confuse people, and a confused person never becomes a client. And if they do, it's often not a great fit either. Today, we're going to look at what happens when you fix up your messages with some examples of marketing messages that I have seen happen with my clients or people who have worked with me through the Thrive Marketing Academy. And we're going to dive right in today and get started with example 1. This one I refer to as moving from selling all sorts of services to having a clear and compelling offer. Now, this example was from someone who was in my Thrive Marketing Academy a few years ago, dietitian. And when she joined, she described herself as all over the place. She had about 6 different types of services listed on her website. She had a laundry list of different services, offers, packages, and on her discovery calls, she was trying to explain every one of them. And that really was the reason why people weren't signing up with her. They would walk away from those discovery calls and not reach back out afterwards or ghost her. In her case, almost every one of those services boiled down to how she worked with women who were experiencing menopause or in menopause, and she worked with them one-to-one. Sometimes it was for a short period of time. Sometimes it was for a longer period of time. There were a variety of ways that she worked with them, and that's what she had turned into all of these packages and these services. Ultimately, it was always customized nutrition counseling that would fit their issues, their needs, and their lifestyle. But when she was trying to explain everything, it got really confusing for the potential clients. And after several months working with me, she really switched things up because we did focus on her marketing message. And she was a very different person when it came to explaining her services to people. It was working so much better, and people were now saying yes to her on those consult calls. And she got to a place where I love to see people get to, which is having that goal of client bookings per month being exceeded from the original goal they set with me in their marketing assessment. What changed for her after she started making these edits and adjustments to her marketing message all boiled down to how she would tell people that she worked with them when it came to her intro. So she very simply got to a place where she would tell people, "Hi, I'm a dietitian. I work with women in midlife and menopause to help them manage their PCOS symptoms without extreme diets or cutting out the foods they love." Now, sometimes she would add a little bit more to that, saying, "I work with my clients one-on-one, and in our nutrition counseling sessions, we focus on the cause of their specific issues and develop a custom plan that will fit their nutrition needs and lifestyle." It became a lot more simpler. And the biggest change she did was cutting back on the offers that she had as well. And what happened with that was huge, because instead of having this big, huge laundry list of things, so what she would do on these calls is she got to a place where she would then just say, "How I work with people is one-on-one through our nutrition counseling services that we offer." And she would talk about focusing on their specific issues, whatever they would need, developing a custom plan for them. She didn't go into the different names that she had created and all the different types of packages where she had a 3-month program and a 6-month program, a 12-month program. It was so confusing to people. And when we boiled it all down, it was always the same thing. It was one-on-one nutrition counseling sessions. So she took away all of those items and the list of packages and services, and it became a lot more clear. Now, not only when she talks to people is she booking more consult calls from that, but she's not over explaining and going into so many details that she's confusing people. She's simply referring to her services as one-on-one nutrition counseling. And people understand what that is. Once she made this change, she saw an uptick in people booking the consults, but people signing up from the consults. Why this worked, one of her biggest issues was she wasn't identifying the clear audience that she worked with. So she now said she works with women in midlife and menopause and helping them manage their PCOS symptoms. She had a clear audience identified and a specific issue. Then she removed all the confusion by offering the one main kind of service that she had, that core service of nutrition counseling. Now, there is a lot more to reducing your services and packages down to 1 or 2 key offers. I did a few episodes on the podcast about that, starting with episode 114, why having less offers and packages will increase your client bookings. So I will put a link to that in the show notes for you. Let's move on to another example I have for you. And this one I like to refer to as moving from "I work with everyone in the world" to "here's specifically who I help." This was a client I worked with who was a therapist in private practice. And her initial intros when we started working together were very broad in who she was helping. On one of our sessions, she said these words: "I offer therapy to people with anxiety, trauma, parenting, communication, burnout, life transitions. Whatever problems they have, I can help them with." That made it very hard for her marketing content to connect, or for her referral partners to know who to send to her as a client, because she was trying to sell to everyone and for every problem that could be out there. When in fact, she had a very specific type of client: busy, professional, career women. So when we narrowed it down from "I work with the entire world and for every problem there is out there," she started having an intro that sounded more like this: "I work with high achieving women who look like they have it all together on the outside, but feel burnt out and anxious on the inside, and they want to stop living like that." So when she was talking to people, they had a much clearer picture now of who she helps and what she helps them do. It's more specific. It was a little more emotional too, because when she started saying the words "feel like they have it all together on the outside, but feel burnt out and anxious on the inside," she told me that there were several people that were saying, "That's exactly how I feel." And that's when you know you have your marketing message nailed down, is when people are repeating those words back to you. And when they're saying, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I felt." Too many people that I run into do this all the time. They want to not narrow things down because they're worried they might lose people. And there are a lot of business owners out there, especially in the dietitian space, I find, who work primarily with women. And it's not that men don't need help, but sometimes for certain services, there are not as many men seeking help. Yet the business owner is often afraid to say, I work with women who blah, 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 and however they're going to describe them. Clarity matters here. It matters a lot. If your ideal client is a woman in menopause or midlife, saying people or individuals leaves it very open. And when you hear the words women in midlife who have XXX problem, then if you are a woman in midlife, you're going to stop and pay attention because you'll automatically be thinking in your head, oh, that's me. That's what we want to have happen with your marketing and with your messages. The worry is people are always worried about not getting enough clients because they're saying who they don't work with when they identify who they do. And the fact is, if you typically don't attract men to work with you and you don't work with them, you're not going to lose them as clients because in certain cases, they're probably not experiencing the same problems as your actual ideal client is. Men are not often going to be the clients that your specific menopause nutrition services are going to help. And if that's the case, say it out loud with your marketing. So for folks that work with people from the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, there are people in that community who may not outwardly present as a woman experiencing menopause, but they in fact are. So when you do this kind of marketing, you can always add something to it to make that clear. The same as the message that love always wins, clarity always wins too. And so why this worked when she made these changes was very specific things like identifying that specific client group, high achieving women who. She also spoke to the contrast between how they appear and how they feel and named that emotional struggle, the burnout, the anxiety. Having all of this in the marketing message helps referral partners clearly understand who to send her. And she indeed had more people referring clients to her because they now understood a lot better the specific type of client she worked with. I'm going to give an example of someone that it wasn't a client of mine, but I had seen online from a connection I had been part of in a group. And they worked with people for gut health and IBS issues. Some of the messaging that I saw related to them had words like unlock your gut's true potential. Now, I have to say that that's not the only kind I've seen like that before. Another one that I distinctly remembered was align your digestion for holistic well-being. That one was very memorable to me because I just kept thinking, I don't feel like anybody is out there saying, oh, I need to find somebody who can help me align my digestion for my holistic well-being. People aren't thinking and talking like that. And if your clients aren't using those words, it's probably not going to hit home for them in your marketing, especially the true potential. Okay. Now, here's my little rant for the day. The words true potential and unlock with them are really becoming overused. And it's a true sign to me that AI was at work in helping create the content. Now, I know there are lots of people out there that were using that phrase before ChatGPT and all the other AI options came around. But please, please, please promise me if you're using AI, do not let it use all these overused phrases and words that it is giving everyone. A new one that I've seen pop up lately is here's the truth. So if you're using that with any AI, watch for it because it seems to be something it's starting out to use more and more. And I've seen it in other content online as well. The thing about unlock your gut's true potential and align your digestion for holistic well-being, they're both very vague, and it's hard to envision any emotion from either one of those statements. So if you were someone who is in a situation like this and has that specialty, you would do a lot better by telling people that If you're doing an intro, you help women struggling with IBS and gut health issues learn to get out and enjoy life without always worrying about where the closest washroom is. Working with me, they learn to identify food triggers and improve their digestion without cutting out everything they love to eat. Part of that message is you work with me and you'll get back out and living life like it was before you had all of those IBS struggles, which for a lot of people means hiding at home, worried about going out, and always needing that washroom close by. So this could be a case where you put some of that wording into your marketing message and you say it to the same person. It's such an improved message, so much more clear, better results. And now when your dream client hears something like that, they're going to go, yes, that is me. They have that vision of the type of person you work with. And so swapping out and going from vague and generic to something more specific helps you create something more vivid and relatable. In a case like this, and I've actually helped somebody create a very similar message to this, that washroom worry is a real big deal for people with these issues. So when you bring it up, you start to speak to their emotions and the practical side of the problem that they're actually having. I doubt very much that people we all know that have that issue, that need the bathroom close by all the time or plan their outings around where the washrooms are, not many of them are going to resonate with, I really need to unlock my gut's potential, the true potential of my gut. That's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, how can I get out and live life without having to worry about where the closest washroom is? Removing all of that vague wording and replacing it with more real life language and speaking to what people really say when they talk about those problems, that's going to help you emphasize the results that you give them. You're going to be talking about freedom and relief and how you're going to help them be living things differently without the restrictions they had placed on them before. Hoping that those will give you a couple more ideas and examples of seeing the differences here. Now, the last example I want to talk about is actually from one of my Thrive Marketing Academy members who said that I could talk about her when we talk about this episode here. Celine Dubray is one of my Academy members, and she joined the Academy in April of 2024 and recently graduated, and she's now working with me in the Thrive Coaching Circle. And like many members, her original elevator pitch on the day she joined and we did our introductions was really long. It focused a lot on her backstory and it didn't clearly explain who she helped or how. And I went back to our notes and it sounded something like this when she did the intro back then. It said, "My name is Adeline Dubray. I am from France. However, I've been in Canada for almost 17 years. I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia with my husband and my 2 homeschooled children. I used to be an elementary teacher in both France and Canada, and I chose to go back to the roots of education 7 years ago by becoming a Montessori educator, trained in Vancouver, and me and my husband opened our Montessori in-home program in 2017. I realized on top of teaching children, I was also answering a lot of questions about blah, 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 blah." You can see how this goes on. And ultimately, she did talk about how her business, Oh Mama, and the coaching support was born from that and that she'd created it in 2022. And it was definitely way over 30 seconds that we try to use in these practice rounds. But it's also a very common way that people introduce themselves. They talk about how they got there, especially if you're in a group for the first time, and introducing yourself and how you got started in business. The thing about this is there's a lot of elements in there that were blocking people from understanding what she really did because, number one, there was too much information, but it focused on the wrong kind of information and did not give at all a very specific insight into her ideal client. So recently, and I've mentioned this before in the podcast, her and 2 others were in a group call with me and we had a new person joining in. And so all 3 of them did their intro in the group, and it was awesome. They had all changed so much in the 10 months or so we had been working together. But I remember Adeline stood out because it just got so clear and so much shorter and was very concise on what she did. So that one sounded something more to this effect. I went back to my notes to see what it said. So she introduced herself that day as saying, My name is Adeline Debray. I'm the founder of omama.ca. I'm a motherhood coach and a matrescence educator. I support new moms and moms with young children through their everyday struggles, especially if you're anxious and trying to do it all alone. I help them find more calm and confidence in their motherhood journey. It was short, it was clear, it was powerful, and the new member on the call immediately understood her role and what she did and the type of people she helped. The reason why it works so much better now is because it identified her exact audience, new moms, moms with young children. It highlighted their problems with some emotional talk about their struggles. Things like who are anxious, trying to do it all alone. She puts some very specific, vivid imagery in place so people understand what that person looks like and what they feel like. And she focused on the outcome she helps them achieve, calm and confidence. She also removed the backstory from there. The personal backstory, they can often be really, really good, but they can distract sometimes from what you offer. And those ones in particular are ones that I find that people will say, especially in certain situations, trying to explain how they started in business. And that's all well and good, but it often does better if you bring that out later on. Sometimes there will be situations where it fits into how you introduce yourself, but primarily what I would want you to always do is step into the here and now when you're doing any kind of intro. Don't go focus on the old stuff because that's not what you're doing today. And today you want clients and you want people to hear the message that's going to help them understand what kind of clients you work with today. So that day, the three of them did this. It was so different from when they'd first joined the program. And it showed just how much of a difference a clear marketing message makes, not in just what you say, but also how you show up and connect with people that you're meant to serve. Because the confidence and clarity that all three had, they've really developed it well over the past year, and it's going to stick with them. I'll be honest, they've practiced a lot. They've worked on delivering a clear message, whether they're writing it on their website in their marketing or speaking it. And it makes a difference when you really focus on that message and practice and hone in on it and really nail it down so that people absolutely get who you are and what you do. And all of these examples weave in pieces of those 4 core marketing messages that we talked about. Those are messages that help you ensure people get what you do and know who you help and how. Having a message that resonates and connects means that anyone hearing your message ideally should never need to ask you, what is it that you do again? And question it because it came out so much more clear than it did before. And these changes, as we wrap up here today, it's not just about wordsmithing. It's about creating clarity that makes someone really think, oh my gosh, that is totally me. She can help me. I should talk to her and book a call and take those steps. You help them make that decision that you're the person to work with. And the best part about this is you don't have to be a deep dive copywriter or marketing expert to do this. And no offense to anyone out there who is, but I know that not everybody can hire a copywriter or a marketing expert to help them narrow down their marketing messages. You just need to know what pieces to focus on and how to say what you do clearly and confidently. And so going back and reviewing episode 151 on what those 4 messages are a key part of this. This is a big part of what we do in the Thrive Marketing Academy and my one-on-one work with people, because everything in your marketing and your sales, in your business or practice, depends on having a marketing message that connects with people. It makes a huge difference. And the members who really focus on this and get it nailed down, they almost always start seeing better results. They get more consults, they get more ideal clients, and they build that confidence in how they talk about their business in any situation. And no amount of social media content, no amount of emails, newsletters, marketing, networking will help if people don't get what you do from the words that you use to describe your business. And so this is one of the moments where the best move is never to post more and more marketing content, do more marketing, put more out there, not until you stop, back up, and fix that foundation. There's no magic button that makes your marketing click overnight. We all want that, but it's not there. But a clear message, that is as close as it's going to get you to that magic button, because it gives every piece of your marketing something solid to stand on. So stop spinning your wheels, stop putting the extra content out there, back up, look at your marketing messages. If you can say things clearly and confidently and use those 4 core messages everywhere, you will see a big difference in the result you get from when you're talking to people about your business. Now, your action step from today's episode, replay the examples from today's episode and pay attention to how each one uses those 4 core messages. If you need to review what those 4 messages are, go back and replay episode 151. If you're still stuck after doing this and you want some help, book a quick Thrive Discovery call with me. I'll help you figure out the top reason your marketing message is not resonating, so then you'll know where to focus in order to get that in place so that you can thrive in business. This is the work that most people skip, but I will tell you right now, it is the work that changes everything. And that's it for today, folks. I hope you take these last few episodes on messaging, put them all together into use, block off an afternoon to work on it, and you will see a change when you start delivering a message that really hits home with people so they truly understand what you do. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have a moment and could leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would truly appreciate that. And remember, to thrive in practice means having clear marketing messages that help people know that you're the exact person to help them. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.